All right, it's 6:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the first thing we have is the continuous learning plan.
Okay, as you guys are well aware, the state, under executive order, the schools are all, the buildings are closed, school continues. But there are a couple things that have to take place locally for us to be able to count the school year. And so what we're coming together tonight for is to take action on two things. One is the continuous learning plan, and I'll talk about the pieces of it, because there's a couple, three parts of that. And then also a resolution that the district will continue to pay the hourly employees. It'll take two separate motions, okay? And then what will occur upon a favorable approval, I'll email this off to the state tomorrow, and everything will be kosher and ready to move down the road. Procedural, because just how we're doing this. If you go to speak, if you want a question to ask, or you want to give an answer, say your name. So I would say Scott Myers, blah, 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 okay? When it's time to take the vote, you have to say, Curtis Peterson, I vote however you vote. And we'll probably do it very didactically, versus the whole raise your hand type thing. Okay? That way we have the record of this, okay? Because this is a regular old board meeting, and as you well know, these are meetings held in public, not public meetings, but we still have to follow certain procedures. Okay? Matt, you want me to go ahead and go on into the, okay. So, in the, you have a copy of the waiver application. There's three pieces to it. Waiver application itself, an insurances document, and then a continuous learning plan application. The application waiver, it just has things on there like who we are, what district we are, that kind of stuff. It's perfunctory. The important piece on that, though, is we are seeking a waiver. In order to have a school year count, it has to be 1,116 hours. Okay, we're asking, we have already booked as of March 13th. That was when school basically stopped functioning as it had been functioning throughout the year at 924 hours at that point. So Robin did great math on this and all sorts of, we measured it 18 times before we cut it. We're asking for a waiver of 202 hours. All right, so that's a piece of this. It's not a separate vote. A couple assurances that we have to say we will do. They're on page 3 of it's called the assurances document. We say we'll develop a continuous learning plan, which I'll talk about. We have. You will pay all current hourly employees during the balance of the 1920 school year based on the plan developed. Now, to make sure you understand that, the order, some of these things come out, they say till the end of June. That's not what that says. What that says for us is we'll pay them through the end of our contract, which is May 14, except for the people who are 12 months, they continue on. Central office people, secretaries go a little bit longer, janitors go a little bit longer, okay? Third one, we'll send the continuous learning plan in before April 8. Today's April 1st. I'll send it in tomorrow. We'll enroll, this is interesting, that we will assure that we will continue to enroll students if they show up here. That all has not changed. So if they move into the district, we will bring them in. I guess there's districts who haven't done that. I don't know why they would do that, but okay. This doesn't change the law for that. It doesn't change the law for evaluations. It doesn't change the law on a variety of things. Okay, so that's one of them. And then the final thing is we'll follow all health and safety guidelines. Well, and you can witness we are exhibiting that as we speak. And we've been very conscious on the concept of keeping people 9 or fewer people to account. We have 8 people in here right now. 9. You can have 10 people in a room. Keep everybody 6 feet apart. And we're doing that in every environment you want. One of the options they gave us as far as educating kids, we have 3 options. Bring in groups of 9 or fewer online for packets. I said no to the bringing the kids in. We're not doing that. I will seek special exception from the county health official for like singletons, like welding class or something like that, and it's in our plan. For individual things like that, we will seek approval, but I'm not about to guarantee it at this moment. Okay? We're going to seek all sorts of other ways to help the kids show their competencies. So now in the continuous learning plan itself, it's chopped into, there are academic supports, social and emotional supports, family and community communication, and other. Those are the areas, if you will. You have this before you. I'd be glad to answer any and all questions. I will say the principals worked with their staffs. We unpacked it. We discussed it and brought it back together and put together, I think, a pretty robust plan. 100 some odd plans have been turned into the state already, and they have kicked some back. I don't know why people were trying to be first in the chute. I'd rather have it correct. But we'll turn it in. If we have to fix something, we'll fix it. Under the academic supports, basically the areas are in here say, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make sure your people are ready? How are you going to make sure technology is where it's supposed to be? How are you going to check in on people? And the CTE thing is in there in particular. And then graduation. So those are the areas of that. And like I said, I'm prepared to go through each one of these if you'd like me to, but we've got it worked out. We know 37 of our families don't have internet as of last week. I'm sure that number is lower now because we've worked with the providers. We had to answer the question of how we're going to have plans for all the specialty, kids with special learning needs as well. Migrant, EL, ESL, SPED, it's in the plan as well. The title kids. Checking in with students. How are we going, what's our plan to make sure the kids are still okay? They've got it set up in the different buildings, minimally twice a week. It could happen more. As far as just calling them up, saying, hey, how are things going? Here's what we're looking at doing today. Being very cognizant of the fact we don't want to overload anybody, because we do have individual families with 4 kids, and so 1 computer maybe, they may be trying to share. Graduation is on here. We've not canceled graduation, we've postponed graduation. Don't know what it looks like. Hopefully the world will open back up come June 1, and we'll have graduation. Maybe by that time they'll say, you know what, you can do things on the football field. I mean, we're looking at options is what I'm saying to you. All we know right now is it's postponed, not canceled. There's nothing in the world that says we can't have graduation in July. We can. Nothing says we couldn't do it virtually. We could. So we're looking at things, okay? Any questions particular around the academic supports area? Seeing none. Emotional, social, and emotional supports. We are highly cognizant of the fact that these are trying times. Yes, school goes on. We have to keep a sense of normalcy as much as possible, but being fully aware of people have families at home. And so this is different. It just is. It's just different. So we have counselor activities, support student social, how we're going to support the students' social, emotional needs, and how we're going to engage with the families. I'm really, really pleased in this area. We're continuing on with our work in trauma that we've been doing for a year and a half already. We're still doing the zones of regulation. We're checking in to say, and talking to the teachers, talking to the parents, saying, and educating people on what it means to be a blue or a red or a green or whatever. And then, depending on the information we get, we can provide some services and or community resources. Our people are not really therapeutic counselors, but they do know stuff. And the stuff that I've heard back already, feedback I've heard from teachers in particular, but also a couple parents, is it was just neat on Monday, they just wanted to see each other again. So we're in the honeymoon of starting school back up, but that means they wanted some of that connection. And we've worked it out to where we've chosen to use Zoom as our platform because you can have a whole bunch of faces on there at once. Google Meets is a great program, but you can only have 4 pictures at once. So if you were to, why do we choose Zoom over that? For that very reason. So we could have a classroom of kids there talking to one another. And once again, we're going to figure all this out because goodness knows we're going to stub our toes. But we are on this topic of the social and emotional needs. They're making personal connections as we know someone seems to be having a little bit more difficulty at home. We're making phone calls with the parents' knowledge, of course. We want to make sure that we're not trying to supersede anything there. And as far as communicating with the families, we're posting office hours, for the teachers, and this weekly communication. So that's the social and emotional supports piece. Okay. Third section, family and community communication. We're informing the families through social media efforts. We're trying to learn. There's a tipping point of communicating too much, so we backed off a little bit because we're sending out a whole bunch of information but trying to feed kids. So we backed it up a little bit, and we're working on more of a filter of, yes, send that out. No, don't send that out. And I'm trying to centralize it because, the principals are still communicating, the teachers are still communicating. People don't want their phone blowing up. So we're aware of that, and so we're working on that as well. We are collecting feedback on what people think, what are they seeing, how's it going. That's going to be one-on-one, phone calls. We could do porch visits. We're not planning on that today, but we could do that as long as we stay 6 feet away. We'll have synchronous and asynchronous ways to gather information as we send it out. How will we evaluate and respond to that? It'll be just like we always do. People will respond, with the right person will respond on whatever it is. But then I'm keeping my weekly meetings go with the admin a standing item on there now is, what feedback did you receive? Because, and of course, I'm in touch with the principals daily anyway, but on every Tuesday, we're gonna say, okay, what did you hear at the middle school? I heard this. Elementary school, well, I heard the exact same thing. Okay, that means it's a macro issue. It's not just a building issue. So then we've developed on the website a public-facing document and an inward-facing document for our employees, where we put on FAQs, just throw them up there, right? If you take a look at our website, on the live feed, it's continually being updated with new information. But once again, some of that information is probably a little bit more pertinent than others. So for instance, today, once again, this is how fast this moves. Today we learned if somebody is ordered to be quarantined, we have the ability now to deliver the food to their house. We didn't used to have that ability, okay? So that'll be up at the live feed constantly. Now, I don't know of anybody, but we're prepared for that, all right? So that's the family and community communication. Oh, something else that I think is really kind of cool. The tech department, Patty Knowles and Randy, are putting together, and Julie, putting together tech tutorials for people and putting them out. You know, it could be like 45 seconds on how to turn on your computer. Or, you know, if you wanted a deeper dive on changing your background in Zoom. You know, just a variety of things, because we find the people where they are and move them forward. Some people can make the internet sing. Other people have never heard of it. And we've got to get them all to a spot where we're moving forward with it, okay?
That's been really helpful.
Good.
The tech.
Say your name.
Sorry, Casey. But yeah, it's been really helpful because Braden had trouble with his computer they had to reset it completely because Zoom wouldn't work or anything, and Patty walked right through it.
Fantastic. And we've set up a tech ticket.
Yeah.
You know, so you turn those in, and it's that kind of thing that we want to hear. We need to hear. Because we just, you know, about you guys, like, get the work done, I'm moving on. Now we have to go back continually and check it out. Like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier, but let's say we don't have 1,000 families. Let's say we have 850 families. We found out we have 37 families without internet. Well, we didn't know that 2 months ago. That's good. We now know that about our people. So we're learning. The last part is how will we monitor and evaluate our approach, and then also the collaboration with the county health. We're pulling data of completing assignments and people clocking in. Just being there, I heard, you know, I zoomed in with Dina on her staff meeting today, and there are, I think she said, 3 families with 0 contact yet. All right, so we're gonna up our efforts to find out, you know, what's going on with those 3 families. Ultimately, we can't make people do the work, but we can at least try. We're gonna do what we can do. You say, here's the information, how can we help you more with this, whatever it is. The collaboration, I am now being involved with the county health people. I now know the name of the person to call, and got to call into her, and we'll depend on her for, like I said, if we want to allow kids to come in to do the welding project. Right now, the rule is the buildings are shut down, except for 363 employees. I think it might be necessary for individual classes like that to allow them in a very careful manner to let them come in. And also, just so you know, it's open to the teachers to work from home or work from the classroom. Fine and dandy. Everybody perfectly fine, no judgment, no nothing. I think what'll happen is there'll be about 2 or 3 teachers per building who decide to come in. Frankly, if it were me, I'd be in my classroom if I need that ceremony of doing it. What we've done is set up a system where on the outside of the door, they're gonna mark that Scott Myers was in that classroom on Thursday from 8 to 10, so the janitors will now know to go clean that room. There's no reason to clean a room that's been cleaned. So that's the continuous learning plan as a whole. That's what we're prepared with lots of other words in there, with lots of no typos, that we're gonna send off to the state with approval from the board. That would be one motion, and then after following that motion, I would ask someone to read the resolution to pay people, then we'd need that motion. So that's what I've got.
Mr. Curtis, I have one question. On the hours, looks to me like 194 hours, not 202.
We put a few extra on there just in case,
Okay.
just to be safe. Because I will always double check my math continually. And I would hate to have put in for a waiver for 1,115 hours. It'd be an hour short.
Right.
That's why. That's what that is. Thank you for noticing.
This is Ryan Ruda, and I would make the motion that we accept the continuous learning plan as presented.
This is Ryan Schreiber, and I will second it.
And Matt, I think it'd be good if it's one person to person to person.
Okay, all right, so this is Matt, and it's been moved and seconded to approve the continuous learning plan. Curtis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ryan Schreiber, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ryan Ruda,
Aye.
Sean Sheets,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Casey,
Aye.
Matt Jones, aye. Passes 7-0. Okay, we'll move to the resolution to pay hourly employees.
Resolution of the board regarding wage payments during emergency school closings. Whereas the board is authorized to expend funds of the Holcomb Schools USD 363 for purposes necessary in the conduct of the public schools as determined by the board. Whereas the board acknowledges that during an emergency closing, most district employees are instructed not to report for work. Whereas the board finds that a need exists to address wage payments for employees who are idled resulting from an order by the Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, Finney County Health Department in conjunction with the Kansas Department of Health and Environment and the Kansas State Department of Education resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. Whereas the board determines that employees who are instructed not to report to work may suffer a loss of pay if the district or its attendance centers are closed. Whereas the Kansas Legislature has declared in House Substitute for Senate Bill 142 its intent that any school district applying for a waiver of the mandatory school term under KSA 72-3117 and amendments thereto shall continue to pay all current hourly employees during times of closure. And whereas the board concludes that continuing wage payments to all regular employees, both salaried and hourly, who suffer a loss in pay due to an emergency closing, serves the public purposes of maintaining morale, reducing turnover, and ensuring continuity of district staffing when schools reopen. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of Holcomb Schools Unified School District 363 authorizes continued wage payments to all regular employees, including regular salaried and hourly employees and employees under current contract with the board who are instructed not to report to work on days they would otherwise be required to be working during an emergency closing. The authority granted by this resolution to continue wage payments to idled employees is effective for the period of March 12th, 2020 through June 30 of 2020, unless the board takes action to authorize payment during a longer duration. This will be adopted this first day of April 2020 by the USD 363 Board of Education.
You need a second? Yep.
I'll make a second on that.
Okay.
Sean?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution to pay hourly employees. Curtis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ryan Schreiber,
Aye.
Ryan Ruda,
Aye.
Sean Sheets,
Aye.
Jill George,
Aye.
Casey Robinson,
Aye.
and Matt Jones, aye. Motion carried. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Casey, and I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Casey?
Seconded by Jill.
Jill. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Good night.
Yeah, let's get them.
Okay, Curtis, how do you vote to adjourn?
In favor?
Ryan Schreiber,
Aye.
Ryan Ruda,
Aye.
Sean Sheets,
Aye.
Jill George,
Aye.
Casey Robinson,
Aye.
Matt Jones, aye. See ya.
Thank you so much.